Hey guys, welcome back to Seller Sessions. Today we bring in Will Cherland. How you doing, Will?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing?
Not bad, not bad. So, Will, for those who are new to the show, do you want to give them a little bit of background on yourself?
Yeah, so I originally started selling back in 2013, and I was selling kind of because I was following my big brother's footsteps, who had been private labeling and importing from Amazon from Alibaba since 2006. And so I kind of followed his footsteps, worked out of my family's company. They had extra warehouse space and just kind of really took that kind of by the horns and really went crazy with it and contacted as many suppliers as I could, tried to upload as many SKUs as I could, and kind of went the method of 1 inch deep and 1,000 miles wide. And from there, we were very successful over the next kind of 18 months. We got it up to a $10 million a year run rate. And then from there, I started getting all these consulting jobs. I started getting all these speaking opportunities, and I branched off to now I run a consulting company called Go Consulting. And we help brands and manufacturers sell more products on Amazon.
Excellent. So you're in the prime position for today's subject, which is, can you get started with $500?
Yeah, no, it's a very common question I get, and if you kind of count the variations of I have $400 or I have $300, it's all the same basically, and it's really going to come down to how you can make your cash work for you and how many times you can multiply it and how many times you can make sure that you reinvest your cash and don't take anything out, because every dollar is so crucial in the beginning stages.
Yeah. Okay. So you've got like a mathematical equation for this. Let's just say you want to let's rephrase the question slightly. You start with $500, so eventually you can replace your annual wage. Let's just say that you earn 30K a year. Start with the 500. Mathematically, how would we get there?
So I see kind of two roads. It's if you go the Alibaba route, it's going to take a little bit longer, but you'll probably get larger profit margins. And so if you go the Alibaba route, you spend your $500 on products on AliExpress or Alibaba if you can get it cheap enough, and you try to sell those products as fast as possible so you can reinvest that cash and take that $500, and hopefully a month and a half later, after you got the products and you sold them for a couple weeks, you sold out your products and now you have $750. You can reinvest that and kind of multiply it from there, and maybe you'll have $12,000 at the end of the year. And then with the $12,000, you can maybe then in the next year after that think about actually starting to replace your income, because you can actually start buying things at larger quantities. You can buy them at better prices. And if you buy $12,000 worth of stuff, sell it for $25,000, pay $7,000 in fees, and net $5,000 after that $12,000 over the course of a couple months, you're getting fairly close to replacing your income. You're going to want to probably spend another year reinvesting that, really growing it to kind of feel a little bit more safe. But it's still with $500, it's still going to take you 12 months before you can even start thinking about taking money out or replacing income. And then from there, you probably should wait another 12 months. So
Yeah.
it's a long road if you go the private labeling route, since it takes so long to flip your cash.
Yeah.
If you go kind of the second route, which is more kind of the way my brother and I took it, is if you work with people faster lead times, faster shipping times, and you work with people or companies that are maybe local to you or they have at least a local warehouse and local inventory, then you can order a week's supply worth of inventory, flip it that next week, and you can flip your cash potentially 20 times a year opposed to maybe 6 times a year tops with the China route.
Yeah. So the reality of that, though, like what we just said, I've just asked you because you're good with math. So we've got the equation. The reality of nailing that execution-wise and bearing in mind the type of products that you're going to select, it's not that it's impossible, but there's only so many Brock Johnsons of the world, isn't there? So now we know the mathematics of that. What we're trying to explain to the audience is don't expect to give up your job tomorrow, but it's not impossible. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. And you are 100% right about the execution. The same as that kind of question gets asked, but replace, say, $500 with $500,000 or $5 million when I'm talking to these private equity firms.
Yeah.
And they have all these super smart business people with MBAs, and they're doing all these different spreadsheets and modeling it all out. And they're kind of just doing the same math I was just doing out loud. We're saying, okay, if we bought this much inventory with this much cash, and then we flipped it this fast, and then we reordered all of it, wow, this can be the most profitable venture in 5-10 years. And then you kind of have to bring them back to earth over and over again, saying like, this is if everything goes perfectly and you execute perfectly and nothing goes wrong, nothing gets delayed, nothing gets broken, every product works well. Like some products might work much better than you expected, and you might have 3 products that stink compared to what you expected. And so, like you said, there's only so many Brock Johnsons in the world. There's only so many stories of people just hitting a crazy home run their very first time out. But for the most part, yeah, execution, you kind of almost have to like do that math and then deduct like 25% just for like lost causes and like paying for an accountant and paying for software and all these kind of weird costs and things that roadblocks are going to happen as you kind of grow your business out.
Yeah. So, I mean, going back to the Brock Johnson story, I know he was on you've met him before, and he was on a podcast recently. It's fascinating to listen. I mean, I think he took it to 6 million, and basically he was selling the Eclipse glasses. He was the only person with a real Eclipse certified glasses because he done the background research. He manufactured in the US, and so he was able to report all these different people that were selling the Chinese version without the right documentation, whereas a lot of people were out of pocket. Although some people made money, I think Amazon refunded a lot of the customers and then offset that back onto the sellers. So a lot of people lost money, and Brock turned over, I think, 6 million. But although he started with a low amount of money, you still have to get a line of credit. You still need to buy products like what he bought in. I can't remember the exact unit amount, but they were like cents on the dollar, somewhere between 2, 3 to 20 cents a unit. Whereas most things you're going to buy from China will start from $1 upwards before you get into landed costs, would you say?
No, 100%. I was just talking about this with someone yesterday where they were asking me kind of the validity of these Amazon courses out there. And I was kind of saying that they're a good starting spot if you've never done it before, if you kind of want to just learn the ropes and how the basics of everything, how it works. But like, that's only going to take you 80% of the way there. And the last 20% is going to have to come off of kind of creativity and kind of your own mind of you kind of figuring it out for yourself. And yeah, Brock's a perfect example of that, where he goes, okay, not only is this Eclipse coming and this Eclipse sunglass thing is going to be a trend, I bet first and foremost, it's going to be flooded with really cheap knockoffs. So I should probably make sure ahead of time that I get the right certification. And 2, this seems like an easy niche because the costs are unknown. No one really knows how much they're going to cost because no one's bought Eclipse glasses, and I can get them for 3 cents a unit. And so I basically can't lose money on these. And so he kind of connected the dots there from going, okay, it's a limited time thing that most people are probably not going to get the right regulations. From there, it's a cheap product that I can buy a lot of at a very little price. And I don't know the retail price, but I'm sure I can get maybe $5, even $10 for some of these things once it comes down to it. And so kind of connecting all those dots on top of knowing how to set up PPC, how to send your inventory into Amazon, how to optimize the listing correctly, how to take the right photos, all the kind of basic things. Then he connected all these dots on top of that, and that's what made him really successful. And so when you try to just go the $500 model and you're trying to just follow the very like rigid kind of footsteps, it's just going to be kind of a slow kind of climb to the top because you're not thinking outside the box. You're not thinking of a way to really take that $500 and go crazy with it. And we can kind of go into a little bit later of $500, how you could even get started with $0 and really kind of try to be creative with it.
Yeah. I mean, if we look at the Brocks, I would say if you're looking at the variables there, I think Brock is definitely up there with winning the lottery kind of numbers. You know, the chances of winning the lottery is the same stats, I would say, is close to what Brock did because it was ingenious what he achieved, and hats off, and I totally applaud him. So let's just quickly, before we break down the numbers there, what is realistically nowadays, we've moved on from the first few years, the gold rush. If we're looking at today, I would say personally to get started with a private label, I say $10,000.
I think, yeah, $10,000 is a very good number. I think that that kind of makes you comfortable for, you might have like $1,000 in just like nonsense expenses
Yeah.
that just kind of come out of nowhere. You might get, then you can spend $6,000 on inventory, and
Yeah.
then you can still have like a $3,000 like nest egg
Yeah.
that you don't have to then sell out all of your inventory before you reorder. Because
Yeah.
that's the problem, is if you overextend yourself and you buy $10,000 worth of inventory the very first time, then to reorder that other $10,000, you just sell out 75% of your inventory. And
Yeah.
if you know you're going to run out, you know it's going to take 60 days to get it from China, and you're running low, but you don't have the cash yet, that's kind of the worst position ever to be in, because you know you're onto something, but just the numbers aren't working out right. So always kind of keep like a little bit of a nest egg there, so you don't have to kind of completely sell out your inventory to be able to reorder.
Yeah. So let's say look at to make the numbers a bit easier. You know that for people to look outside looking in, when someone's doing 100 grand a month, you know, and they show these images on Facebook showing their turnover. If you're turning over 100 grand a month and you're working off a 20% margin, you've got a lot of your money tied up in stock, haven't you?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, it's really interesting because like if Brock Johnson does $100,000 a month,
Yeah.
since you know he buys it for pennies and he can sell it for dollars,
Yeah.
you know that's like, wow, okay, you're actually probably taking home a bunch of that, and you only have to spend 10% of your earnings each month to re-up the inventory.
Yeah.
It's a pretty sweet cash flow business.
Yeah.
And then if you're on the opposite side, where say you have a wholesale catalog where you're making 3% margin on everything, and you're like, well, it's like, okay, cool, you got the 500K a month, but what are you actually kind of putting in your pocket? And so that's kind of where another thing that allowed my brother and I to kind of take our business to the next level was embracing Vendor Central and working out payment terms with a lot of our suppliers.
Yeah.
Because being able to pay your suppliers like 60 days after you're supposed to, and then being able to kind of finagle Amazon's payments so you can float cash a lot, that really helps you grow a lot faster than having to go to the bank and ask for a big loan or trying to
Which
raise
they won't
money.
probably give you.
Exactly. And especially too, if we say, no, here's the deal. I'm going to upload this catalog of Sony electronics. Amazon's going to go crazy for them. And I need to be able to place like $150,000 purchase order the first day. Can I get $150,000? No random banker at your local bank is going to have any idea how the Amazon system works, how the Vendor Central works, how the ordering works, how big of a deal it is that you got the Sony catalog, kind of all that stuff they just won't get. And so, yeah, you have to be kind of creative with your cash at the further you get along with your business to make sure that you're able to pay yourself and pay the suppliers and everything like that. And so we recently acquired a brand and are selling products, and we're importing from a supplier in Pakistan. And luckily the brand that we got, they had negotiated ahead of time after years of doing business with them, really awesome payment terms, and saying like, oh yeah, like they say like pay half of it, whatever, when it leaves the port. But yeah, I don't know, you could pay him a month late and he probably wouldn't care. They think that's no big deal. And for us Amazon people, paying a month late could be everything.
Yeah, totally. So if we go back to around to the point is realistically, no one can get started with $500 and nail it unless you're on working with lottery variables, should we say. But you have got ways of what you would suggest in terms of being creative with your revenue. And what would that be?
So, yeah, it's going to be a combination of things. First and foremost, I would get going on like ODesk or I think they call it Upwork now. I don't even know which one it is. But I would get going on one of those immediately and posting yourself on there. I'm on there right now still. I get random job offers on there still. But it's a really good place to earn side cash if you need cash to get started, learn how Amazon works, and learn what you like and don't like, because it's very hard, and people ask usually the worst questions in the very beginning because they just have no idea what to expect, and they just haven't gone through it first themselves to be able to ask like good questions. And so if you're running 5 different people's Amazon accounts, each person's paying you $500 a month to run their Amazon account. Right there, you got $2,500 a month pure cash going in your pocket, and you're learning about 5 different Amazon accounts where one might have 500 SKUs, one might have 1 SKU, they might be in 5 different categories. And then from there, after a year of doing that, you can actually save up like $20,000, $25,000 and go, okay, I am darn near an Amazon expert now. I've been running 5 different accounts. I know exactly what I like, what I don't like. I know when these clients, their product is very customer service centric, and so I'm going to stay away from that. I know this client has one really good SKU and it's all about branding, and I like branding, so I'm going to focus on that. And then at least you know about Amazon, how it works, what you like, what you don't like, and you have the cash to get started. And yeah, it's going to take another year, kind of delayed, but you'll probably make a lot better decisions.
Yeah. Totally. And I suppose it does go back to this whole thing about cash flow, because you see a lot of Amazon sellers turn to consultancy. You see them turn into selling software and stuff because, one, it diversifies their risk, and two, it brings in that additional cash. Because when you're investing in your business, you're constantly feeding the beast. Any other final things you want to add?
Last final things is, try to, if you contact domestic suppliers, a lot of them are very used to payment terms, 30, 60-day payment terms, and you get paid every 2 weeks on Amazon. So really kind of exploit that. If they have a big catalog and you can prove it on like Jungle Scout that, hey, it says this item says it sells $10,000 a month. If I buy $1,000 of it, I probably won't get screwed too bad. And so you can keep making mini bets like that over and over again, extending your payment terms, and over time you can kind of build up a war chest. So there's a 1,000 ways to skin a cat. Think outside the box. If you don't have the money right now, it doesn't mean you can't get into it still. It's just you have to be a little bit more creative and team up with the right people.
Sounds good to me. And what about in terms of, obviously we've looked at, there's other services out there but you need to get going first, like payability. But I suppose credit cards, getting payment terms arranged with suppliers, and obviously not taking any money out of the business at the very beginning. But ultimately, to wrap this, is that the realism of starting an Amazon business on $500 and it replacing your income anytime soon, it would be a bit of a moonshot.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's something that would be interesting for like a high school student, because they have 4 years to slowly build their war chest and kind of learn lessons and stuff like that. So if you're a 16-year-old kid and you have $500, get started right away, because that's going to be interesting. But if you're in your 30s, 40s, you're trying to replace your income with $500, it's going to be a lot tougher road, because you're going to have to be making cash immediately to pay for all your bills and all your expenses, and it's going to be a lot tougher. Definitely.
Cool. Well, how can people reach you if they want to get in contact?
I'm pretty easy to find. I got a unique name. And so Facebook /Chernland, my last name, WTJERN on Twitter and Instagram. My email is williamchernland@gmail.com. You guys can find me.
Excellent. Thank you again for coming in, Will. I look forward to getting you back again soon. Guys, thank you very much for joining us today. I'll see you soon, Will.
Sounds good. See ya.